All right, we were waiting for a couple more people, but it seems like we have a pretty full room already and everyone has bedtime. So I guess let's just get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know it's the end of a long day and you could be anywhere else, so I really appreciate you choosing to be here. I'm Melanie. I'm the clinical director at EY Behavioral Services, and at EY, we help parents solve behavior challenges. So without further ado, let's just get started with today. What if I told you that most parents are setting boundaries in ways that actually make behavior worse? Would you agree with that? What would that make you feel right now? Today, I'm going to share the system of how I've helped many parents, Katie, go from this daily battles, the crying, the yelling, the dropping to the ground, screaming, to following directions the first time when everything else had failed. All of the traditional strategies, the sticker charts, the praising, and all of that had failed. But first, I just want to test my room by a quick show of hands. How many of you have ever given into your child just to avoid a tantrum, a meltdown, or to keep the peace? Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, you're definitely not alone, right? Most parents, if not all, have been there. The tears at drop off, the bedtime back and forth, the play at pickup time when it's time to go, and the endless one more time request right before it's bedtime, right? So it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because nobody is talking about and teaching you what's actually happening underneath all of those moments. So tonight we're going to make sense of all of that. You're going to walk away with understanding why your child resists those boundaries, the step-by-step plan on how to set those boundaries in a way that actually works, even if your child is strong-willed, or some of us will call them stubborn, and what you can start doing today to make it easier on yourself at home. I promise you, this is not about perfection at all. It's actually about understanding what's going on so you can pick a better strategy for your child. So I like to start with going over what I consider kind of like the hidden problem. Why is setting boundaries so hard? Why do we say that we will hold the line and then find ourselves saying yes to another episode of Bluey, or another minute, or another little toy, right? What is happening actually is not that you're bad at boundaries, it's that we're raising kids in a world of instant gratification. And parents like you have not been given the tools to deal with that. Think about it. If you want food, in minutes, right? If you want a show, 2 clicks and the episode is on. If you want a new toy, Amazon has a button and it's delivered by tomorrow. And even though it's not your kid clicking the buy button on Amazon, or maybe for some of you it is, it is the fact that our kids are watching that. So they're taking all of that in inadvertently. Our kids are growing up in a world that doesn't actually require waiting. And waiting, that space between I want and I get, is where a lot of very important developmental skills are built. Things like frustration tolerance, patience, resilience, understanding, regulation, and many, many others. This waiting that I'm talking about is not embedded in their day-to-day. I'll give you an example that I think most of everybody in this room will relate. Who here did not have a phone or a tablet growing up? Okay. And who remembers having a landline and having to dial and make this noise to be like, in order to connect to the internet? Most of us. So if you also picked up that landline, your internet would go away and you would immediately be like, in the middle of your messenger chat, disappointed that the message never went through, right? So think about how your access to the internet is so vastly different than your child's access to the internet. That period of you having to wait to connect to the internet and being kicked out in a blink of an eye was that embedded teaching in your day-to-day life for those developmental skills that we just talked about. It was embedded in our day-to-day life. We would be disappointed. We would have to wait naturally. Now that doesn't exist a lot anymore. We don't have that. So your child doesn't understand what that is. If you want to do your child to do something like get in the bath or let you enjoy the last bite of your warm food at a restaurant, all you have to do is pull out a device. We didn't have that before. So Now you're probably asking, Elami, how does my child accessing everything fast have anything to do with them not following my instructions or respecting my boundaries? Well, because they're not learning the basic skills necessary to follow directions. And not only that, but parents aren't aware of this. So they parent without knowing that this is what they're missing. This is why setting boundaries is so hard. That natural way for your child to learn the skills they need to have as building blocks to be able to follow your instructions is not there. They don't get enough practice. Are you following me? Does that make sense? Cool. So now, what do we need to do? How do we show them that some things take time and that it is okay for things to not go their way all the time? Well, we need to teach them. Again, it's not embedded in their day-to-day. It's no longer something that they can learn on their own. So we need to teach them. We need to teach them by creating opportunities for them to sit in that discomfort. And that's why boundaries are so hard. They just don't have the skills yet. Today, we're gonna go and really dive into that step-by-step process so you can teach them at home. But for now, when your child goes a drop-off or when you say no at Target and they fall apart, you're not seeing defiance. This is very important to understand. You're seeing a brain that has never had to practice or practice enough waiting or hearing no. It's kind of like working out once a month. Every time you go to the gym, you will be sore because your body is not used to the work by you going only once a month. So every time you go, you're gonna be sore. Your child melting down is like them getting sore. They're not getting enough repetition for those emotions to be practiced. How many of you notice that your child gets upset the moment that something doesn't go their way? Yep, that's not because they're spoiled, it's because we haven't built the muscle yet. And here is the kicker. Every time that we rescue them from that discomfort, we're accidentally taking away the chance for them to build those skills. When you pick up your child here at school and you tell them it's time to go, but then you let them play a little longer just to avoid that meltdown, you're actually taking away that opportunity for them to learn how to sit with that discomfort and build those skills that we just talked about. Okay. So we understand that our kids are growing up in a world of instant gratification that does not naturally teach them the basic skills they need to ultimately follow directions. Things like frustration tolerance, regulation, accepting no, patience, resilience. They are used to everything going their way. So the moment that it doesn't, they just go sideways. That's one part. Let's talk about the other part. What's really happening in your child's brain when you set a boundary, and how does this impact your ability to set boundaries on your day-to-day? Kids don't listen not because they're bad. They don't listen because they feel confused or they feel out of control. And let me explain. A child's brain can only learn, cooperate, follow directions when it feels safe. What happens is that when you as a parent encounter those challenging moments, those meltdowns, tantrums, screaming and crying, you get triggered, understandably. You're rushed, you're tired, whatever it may be for you, naturally and understandably, you become inconsistent. So when sometimes no means no and other times it means maybe, the brain doesn't know what to expect. That unpredictability triggers a fight or flight response. Their nervous system literally goes, wait a second, you look like a tiger in the wild, and I don't know what to expect from you. I don't know what you're gonna do next, so I'm gonna just freak out a little bit. And think about it. How do you feel when you don't know what to expect? Imagine that you go to a new country. You don't speak the language, you don't know where you're at, you don't have anybody to talk to, you don't know what to expect. How do you feel? Or when you go to work, and your boss keeps changing the rules for you at work. One day, it's okay for you to wake up whenever you want and show up whenever you want. The other day, you'll be written up for it. How would you feel? Overwhelmed, confused, annoyed? You agree? Yeah? Exactly. You'd feel tense, you'd feel anxious, maybe even frustrated, right? That's exactly how your child feels when your boundaries keep changing. They just don't have the words to tell you because they're 3. Of course, your 3-year-old is not thinking, Mom, you said no yesterday and you say yes today. I'm anxious now. That's not how it's going. It's actually their brain trying to identify a pattern and not being able to do so. Remember that the brain's primary job is survival. It wants to keep you alive. So when it's trying to identify a pattern and it's not able to do so, it gets stressed. And so it sends your child into fight or flight. When the world feels unpredictable to them, your child's brain literally cannot relax. They stay in a fight or flight response and they start pushing, yelling, testing, fighting for that control because that is what they're craving. So many parents tell me, my child is so controlling. And I actually want to ask you, how many of you feel like you have a controlling child? Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're fighting for control because they don't have that predictability. Now, on the other hand, when you're calm, when you're consistent, their nervous system goes, oh, wait a second. I know what happens here. Mom means what she says. All is good. The pattern is identified. I can relax. That safety is what actually allows them to listen and follow your lead. It's not discipline that makes boundaries work. It's actually predictability. Predictability tells the brain you are safe, so you can stop fighting, so you can use those resources to actually pay attention and learn. Now, I want to zoom out a little bit. Why does this matter? Why is this important? Well, because kids who grow up without consistent boundaries struggle later at school, with teachers, friends, even jobs. They don't know how to handle no. They don't know how to handle frustration or delayed gratification. And the world says no all the time. If they never get to practice at home, it's really tough out there for them. Boundaries build life skills. That's why this matters, because they're getting to learn all of those foundational skills that we talked about at the beginning. And those are life skills. They're the foundation for everything else. And I want to be clear here that these are not skills that can be taught either only at home or only at school. It has to be a joint effort. The reason for this is because kids need a lot of repetition and they need a lot of practice. You are not going to be able to not give them some of that practice at home and send them to school and be fine. They're going to come here and they're not going to allow their little friend to take their toy because they're not used to that. They don't get that practice. So, joint effort, home and school. Now, what's the flip side? When you set boundaries calmly and consistently, you're teaching your child, I can handle not getting my way. I can literally survive being frustrated, and I can still feel safe when somebody says no. You teach them those basic skills that the world they currently live in is not teaching them by default. That's what you're doing. It's not obedience, it's actually emotional resilience. And I want to invite you to ask yourself this question before we get super practical on this, because we are going to get very practical. When you think about your child in the future, maybe even as an adult, what kind of resilience do you want them to have? And think about that, because teaching that starts now, while they are in their most crucial developmental years, by allowing them to sit in that discomfort, within boundaries, of course. We're not going to send them in the deep end, but allowing them to sit in that discomfort is how we do that. Our kids are growing up in a world of instant gratification. They are missing the natural ways for them to learn those hard basic skills. Their brain wants predictability, and our lack of consistency as parents keeps them in fight or flight, which is why they fight. These two reasons make the perfect storm as to why boundaries are so hard to set. Now that we know that, let's get practical and let's see what we can do. Here is a 4-step plan for you to build effective boundaries with your child, and we are going to go through each one of them. Step 1 is to pick a boundary. Pick a boundary that actually matters most to you. Maybe it's drop off. Maybe it is when I say go, it's go. Maybe it is no snacks before dinner. Start with one boundary and stay consistent. Everything else, I would highly recommend you send out the window, and I'll tell you why. You're giving in anyways. And be real with me. How many of you are giving in more than you would like to in your day-to-day with your child right now? Most of us. It's okay. You're losing the battle anyway, so why fight it in the first place? If your child wants a cookie, I'll give you an example. If your child wants a cookie for breakfast and you try to give them eggs and milk, you fight for an hour and now it's late, but you know that they need to eat something because otherwise they will be cranky at school and they will call you. So you give them the cookie because you need them to eat something. It's an extreme example. I'm not advocating for cookies for breakfast, but you get my point. Why go through all of that? Just give them the cookie in the first place. You're just going to do it anyways. So don't fight it. Just go for it. What this does is it allows you to have a clean slate to actually start working on your boundaries. It avoids inconsistency from you, and it teaches your child that they don't need to fight to get what they want. So we're not teaching them the wrong thing. Pick one boundary and stick with it. And actually, in your handout, I do have some questions that you can go answering along the way. I would like for you guys to walk away with a plan that you can actually implement tomorrow to make those boundaries easier to stick, or at least easier to build that plan for you. If you want to go along and start jotting down things, you can go ahead. I'll start with that. Ask yourself that question. What is one boundary that if you could hold this week, it would make your day that much easier or better? This could look like maybe when you drop off, you just leave 5 minutes after you coming in. That would make your day 10 times easier because you can just leave. What would make your morning transitions a piece of cake? Maybe if your child sat down at breakfast the first time you told them instead of the 15th time you told them to come to the breakfast table. That would make your morning or your day that much easier. What is one thing that would really make a difference for you in your day-to-day? Let's take a couple of minutes to really think about that one. And if you have any questions all up to this point or how to pick your one thing, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. Okay, does everyone have a boundary that you want to hold? Yeah? Okay, awesome. Cool, now let's go into how we're gonna hold it. First, you want to preload the expectation. What does that mean? Just a fancy word to say, let them know in advance what to expect. Way before you get to that moment, tell your child what's coming. For example, when I drop you off, I'm gonna give you one hug, one kiss, and then I'll leave. This lets them mentally prepare and process instead of feeling surprised. So if this is a new expectation that you are setting, you want to repeat this at least 3 to 5 times before you get to that moment. Again, this lets them mentally prepare, repeat, and process what they are going to be expecting before they feel surprised. You're gonna do this slowly, calmly, at eye level, and always checking for understanding. Let me walk you through it. I'll actually model it for you. Say I'm going to do the drop-off example. I'm going to set up my expectation that at drop-off, I'm going to give you one kiss, one hug, and then I'm going to leave. I want to say it 5 times. So my first time I'm going to say it is going to be at bedtime. I'm going to say like, hey, Katie, tomorrow at drop-off, I'm going to give you one hug, one kiss, and I'm going to leave. Do you understand? Slow, calm. I'm going to get to their eye level. And then I'm going to, at the end, tell them, do you understand? You got it? We're checking for understanding. We're checking that they are really taking in what we're saying, right? First time at nighttime. Second time at wake up time. Good morning. We do this, brush your teeth, whatever we do. And then I'm going to say, hey, Katie, remember what I told you last night? When I drop you off at school, I'm going to give you one hug, one kiss, and I'm going to leave. Got it? Cool. Now Katie is eating breakfast, minding their own business, and I'm gonna be like, Katie, I just wanna make sure you don't forget this is so important. At drop off, I'm gonna give you one kiss, one hug, and I'm gonna leave. You understand? Cool, that's 3 out of 5. The next time I'm gonna do it when we get in the car, we buckle up, and I'm gonna say, I just wanna make sure you got this, it's so important. When I drop you off at school, I'm gonna give you one hug, one kiss, and I'm gonna leave. Do you understand? Cool. When I park in here outside of the school, before I unstrap her, I'm going to say, just one last time before we walk in, I want to make sure you get this. A drop off, I'm going to give you one hug, one kiss, and I'm going to leave. Do you understand? Okay. So then when you did the 5 times, right? And then when you actually get into the classroom, what you want to do is narrate what is happening as if the expectation is happening. Okay, we're at drop off. It's time. I'm going to give you one hug. Here's your hug. Here's your kiss. Okay, now I'm going to leave. And then actually, when you get to that final I'll leave, you have to make sure that you leave. Your child may still cry, but that is the part where we give them the opportunity to sit in that discomfort. And I'm sure you all can relate. You all have probably gone through a period in your life that was hard. It was uncomfortable. But when you look back, you may feel grateful for that period of discomfort because it helped you grow or it helped you be in a better place than you were before. Growth is on the other side of discomfort. For your 3-year-old, it looks like crying and being a little emotional for a short period of time. Discomfort does not look pretty, and it also does not look comfortable. I say this because it's very important to understand and keep in mind, because it can be tempting to comfort them in those moments. But when you do that, again, you take away the opportunity for them to learn how to sit in that discomfort. Now, when you actually follow through with your words, your child learns to trust your words, because what you say actually happens. And over time, that consistency teaches them, my parents are predictable and they mean what they say. So no matter what kind of disappointment I face, I'm gonna be okay. Now, the second thing that you want to do to hold the boundary is set the consequence ahead of time. What does that mean? It means telling your child exactly what will happen if they don't follow through before you get to that moment. It's not threatening them, it's actually preparing them. You're saying, here is what's going to happen, so there are no surprises and no power struggles. So for example, when the timer goes off, it's time to clean up. If you don't clean up, I will help you do it. That's the consequence. Or if you're not ready when it's time to leave, I'll carry you to the car. Consequence. Again, you're gonna say this slowly, calmly, very matter of fact. You're not mad, you're just establishing the boundary. And you want to add this on your 5th repetition. On the 5th time that you're setting a new boundary, you will add that consequence. So in my example, a drop off, when I am unstrapping Katie from the car seat, and I'm telling her, hey, Katie, it's time. I'm gonna drop you off. I'm gonna give you one hug, one kiss, and then I'll leave. If you X, if you cry, if you try to run out the room, if you hang on to me, Miss Maddie will hold you. I will still leave. Do you understand? So we're letting her know, here's the expectation. And if that doesn't occur, here is your consequence. This is what will happen. Somebody else will hold you and I'm still gonna leave. This allows them to understand what the if-then contingency is. They can predict what's coming. So remember that their brain wants to identify the pattern. And of course, this is not gonna happen on the first time. It's gonna need repetition. But I promise you that if you do it enough times, your child will not cry a drop-off. They will learn and adapt because they have those skills. So the benefit of setting the consequence ahead of time is that it stops the back and forth before it even starts. You had already established what is going to happen. There is no negotiation to be had. I told you, Miss Maddie will hold you and I will leave. We already made that commitment and that agreement. So we stop it before it even starts. And the outcome is that your child actually starts taking your words seriously. They know that you will follow through. And that's what teaches them to follow through too. Is that making sense? Cool. So we picked a boundary. Now, of course, great. How do we implement it? We picked a boundary and we know how to implement it. Cool. Step 2 is say what you mean and stop talking. And let me clarify what that means before I get deeper into it, because I don't want you to hear stop talking and think shut down. When I say stop talking, I mean stop negotiating, not stop connecting or ignoring. Just stop the negotiation. You can still be warm, calm, and kind, and also be firm and clear. Your child needs your confidence, not your explanation. Especially 0 to 5, their language skills are developing, and their language is not as advanced as ours. So our attempt to over-explain is because we don't know any better how to communicate with them. So when you say no, mean it. No, maybe later. No, we'll see. Say it once and say it calmly. Not right now. We're done today. That's not available. Leave it at that. Stop talking, because silence is a boundary too. A mistake that parents often make is try to explain the boundary. Imagine this. No, you can't have that toy because Santa is coming and you have to make your letter for Santa, and you can't have that toy in the middle of a Target. That message, what that sends to your child is, I'm afraid to say no because I know you're gonna tantrum. So I'm gonna add all of this extra stuff in hope that you don't notice. and that I don't get the tantrum. In order for you to reinforce that boundary, you say no calmly and you stop talking. In my example of the drop-off, a bad example would be something like this, saying like, okay, I'm gonna leave now, and the child cries. Then I'm gonna be like, hey, look, your friends are playing with trains. You're gonna have so much fun today at school. It's water day. Mommy has to go to work. Go, Miss Maddie, you wanna go blocks or you wanna play with trains? It's a bad example. So you said you would leave, but you're not leaving. So now the child is confused. That makes your boundary unclear. There is a phrase that I like to share with parents to remind them to stop over-explaining because it's hard. It's hard in the moment. So your actions will teach them more than your words ever will. Show them, don't tell them. Okay, so step 2, say what you mean. How do we do this? How do we actually say what we mean? One of the best strategies to use is to use controlled choices. What does that mean? It means that you give your child a choice within your boundary, not instead of it. So you're saying, here's the limit, but you still get a say within that limit. This keeps your child engaged without having to give up your role as a parent. So for example, here's a boundary, time to leave. Here's a choice. You can walk to the car or I can carry you. Boundary, bedtime. You can brush your teeth first or you can get your pajamas first. Boundary, screen off. You can turn up your iPad yourself or I can turn it off for you. All of these choices lead to the same outcome. The boundary still stands, but your child feels like they have control over how they get there. And this is how you say what you mean and you stop talking or negotiating, because with a controlled choice, there is no need to negotiate. You are moving in with the boundary in a way that already interests your child. So in my example of the drop-off, I could say, do you want your hug or your kiss first? When I leave, do you want to play with blocks or trains? And the reason why this works is because most power struggles, especially with toddlers and preschoolers, aren't about the rule. They are about control. So if we give them those choices, we are kind of giving them perceived control. Controlled choices, again, give them real control in a safe context, which instantly lowers their resistance. Their nervous system feels like they are respected and not like overpowered when they're in this period of trying to test all of the limits. So then you get fewer tantrums, less pushback, because they don't feel helpless. They feel like they can actually do something about it. Now you want to offer these choices in the same way. Slow, calm, at eye level, and simple. A bad example of this would be, do you want to go to your room and pick up your pajamas, or do you want to bring me your toothbrush and brush your teeth first? Bad example, not simple. Good example, brush teeth or pajamas? Which one? Much simpler to understand, much easier for them to process what you're saying. The second thing that you want to do to say what you mean is validate the emotion and keep the boundary. When your child gets upset because you said no, you don't have to fix the feeling. You just have to see it. Something like, I know you really wanted to stay and play. It's hard to leave, huh? I can see that you're frustrated. You really wanted that snack. I understand. Validation is very powerful. When a child feels seen and understood, their brain actually can relax enough to move out of their fight or flight. The mistake that most parents make is thinking that validation means agreeing or giving in. It doesn't. You're not saying, okay, fine, have the cookie. You're saying, I get you're disappointed. The answer is still no. Another mistake is thinking that the emotion is not okay to have. Most parents want the child to stop the emotion or stop the behavior. But that is an actually very healthy and normal response for kids to be disappointed and feel emotional. What we need to do instead of trying to stop it is hold this space for them to feel that emotion and actually move through it. When we use this strategy of validation, literally just saying like, I get it. It's hard to not have that cookie. We teach two things at once, that emotions are valid and that the boundary still stands. Boundary is real. This also teaches your child that emotions aren't dangerous. They can feel those big feelings and still be okay. Over time, what you will see with this is fewer emotional reactions or explosions and more self-regulation, which is what we're all looking for. Now, comes the hardest step. Step 3, expect the test. Here's the absolute most honest truth. It gets worse before it gets better. As behavior experts, we call this an extinction burst. Fancy word to explain that when your child doesn't get the result that they are used to, they'll push harder. It's not defiance, it's actually confusion. They're testing. Does this rule apply today? Does this actually work like this today? When you stay calm through that test, their brain learns, okay, this is a new rule, I can handle it. So the next time that your child melts down after hearing no, you can tell yourself that this is normal and that it is part of the process. You can hold the space to let it happen. That is actually the teaching moment that I'm talking about. Parents make the mistake to stop right when it gets worse. And it's actually the worst time to stop. And I don't blame you because it does seem like it's not working. So you're like, oh my gosh, stop this. But it's actually part of the process. And let me give you an example that I think will make sense to most of you. When you go to a vending machine and you put $1 in and you put your 357, your chips don't come out, they are stuck. What do? Right? We push on the buttons, we bang on it, we try to move it, even though 99% of the time that thing is so heavy, we can't move it, we still try. So we're just... That is your behavior getting worse before you realize you don't have another dollar to put in and your chips are still stuck and you walk away. Your behavior got worse before it got better, before you walked away. What you did before of putting the dollar in didn't work. So you did something different. You escalated yourself. That is what your child is actually doing. They're escalating because the thing that they're used to working before is not working. But if you get over that hump, it will decrease and it will get better. It's the same. It gets worse before walking away. In the heat of that moment or in that moment where it gets worse, what you need to do is actually stay calm and hold that space to let it happen. I want you to remember that in that moment. I want you to remember this visual. Oh, Elami said the vending machine. They're just vending machining it. Eventually, it will go down. So, with that, what can we do? How can we, as parents, expect that test successfully in a way that it doesn't drive us bonkers, right? Number 1 is to use a calm cue to yourself. When things start to escalate, the first step is to regulate yourself. The thing is that when your child starts crying and screaming, you get triggered. Your survival brain kicks in. And so now your brain thinks that your child is a tiger in the wild. So your ability to respond calmly and rationally tends to go out the window in that moment. So you want to find a way to regulate yourself so that your brain doesn't think that your child is a tiger in the wild. So this could be something like taking a slow, deep breath, grounding your feet, unclenching your jaw, quietly telling yourself, I'm safe, my child is learning, whatever you feel connected or compelled to listen to. What this does is that this tiny pause gives your brain a moment to actually stay online. It's what helps you respond in a more assertive way instead of reacting. And what this does, you pausing and not reacting, is that it teaches your child that strong feelings don't scare you. So they stop using them to test you. Because when your children realize that their strong feelings scare you, their brain goes, oh, that's my way to survive. I just gotta push the button. So, yeah, if you want to jot it down or you have something in your head, a cue that will help you calm yourself, take a deep breath, take a sip of water. It is, of course, easier said than done. I recommend a lot of the times when I work directly with parents, I put a big red dot on the wall so that they remember what that means. Or a vending machine as a visual, whatever it is that is going to remind you in the moment that we need to just take that 1 second to, even if you just relax your shoulders, it will work. So, the next thing that you want to do is have a pre-decided plan for how your child can find comfort when they are upset. You want to create a safe path back to being calm because in the heat of the moment, before the heat of the moment, because otherwise, what happens when we offer something to our child when they're in the middle of an escalation? No, I don't want that. Run away, right? So we want to decide that before. You can say something like, when you're upset, you can go into your calm corner. You can hug your stuffed animal or squeeze your pillow. The point is to have a plan ready so that you're not scrambling or negotiating in the middle of chaos again, because that just doesn't work. You want to establish the plan before. The more that we repeat this plan to the kid, of course, we're not going to say, do you want to go to your calm corner? And all of a sudden they're going to go to the calm corner and calm down. It takes repetition. So the more that you tell them in neutral states, remember, when you feel frustrated, you can go to your calm corner, or whatever their options are, the more that they will know what to do. What this does is that your kids know what to do with their big feelings. That's when they start to recover faster. When they know, when I feel this big feeling and I can go to my calm corner and it goes away, they start to recover faster. It creates a bridge between your boundary and their emotions so that they don't see it as like the negative thing. It's just something that happens. So, what can we offer to our kids to regulate before when they have big feelings? A sip of water, a calm corner, a hug from you, music, a walk, whatever that may be. I think I put a checklist on your sheet. And after this comes step 4. We made it over the hump, which is very cool. So we reinforce calm and recovery. When your child handles frustration even just a little better, name it right away. I love how you took a deep breath. You were so mad and you walked away. That was awesome. I know it's hard to not play after work. You did a really good job. You're reinforcing emotional regulation, and that's actually the goal, because following instructions is a byproduct of a child that has the skills to tolerate disappointment and tolerate consistent boundaries. Following the instructions is not something that we can just teach. It's a byproduct of all of these things that we do to increase their toleration skills and implement our consistent boundaries. So you want to reinforce when they show you those skills. Now, of course, the question is how? The first thing you want to do is catch it and name it. The key here is timing. You don't want to wait until the end of the day to notice it. You name it the moment that you see it, or the moment that calm starts to show up. It could be a sigh instead of a scream. It could be walking away instead of arguing. It could be sharing, accepting something. It could be the 2 seconds of quiet before the tears start again. Maybe when they go in the middle of their cry. That is your moment. That is the window when their brain is actually listening. And this is why that works. When you point out the calm behaviors in the moment, you're actually helping those pathways in the brain. The brain, again, learns through repetition. So you're literally wiring that emotional regulation into their nervous system by noticing it and marking it for them. Now, the next thing that you want to do to reinforce calm and recovery is reflect. Once your child has calmed down, go back and briefly revisit what happened. It's not a lecture, it's reflection. You don't want to go into a whole lesson. You can say, I know you were upset when I said no to the park, but you calmed down and move on. That was awesome. Next time, what can we do instead? Again, you're not lecturing. Very important. The lesson was already taught by all the steps that you already followed. You don't need to talk about it again. You want to keep your tone warm and curious, not corrective. What can we do instead? Let's pick something else. When you're doing this, when you help them reflect, you're helping them connect what they felt with what they did. Their actions have consequences, and in the future, they can make a better choice. Reflection works because after a meltdown, their brain is open to learning again, and that's when your child can absorb what happened and actually build those insights that will help them in the future. And this is the 4-step process to establish a boundary that works. So just to wrap it all up for you, here's what I would like for you to take away tonight. Your child isn't giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. They live in a world that doesn't naturally teach patience, waiting, or frustration tolerance. That's why boundaries feel so hard for them. They just haven't built those muscles yet. But every time that you stay calm, clear, and consistent, you're helping them build those skills. When you follow through, they learn that your words mean something. And when you stay calm, their brain feels safe. When their brain feels safe, they can listen, they can cooperate, they learn, and they grow. Boundaries aren't about control, they're about predictability. Your consistency builds that predictability. Unpredictability builds trust. And that trust is what makes boundaries stick. When they understand you say what you mean, and you mean what you say. So preload the expectation, let them know in advance, follow through with it, and expect the test. Be prepared for that. If you make it over the hump, celebrate when you get to that end of that cycle, because that is literally how you turn everyday challenges into a peaceful home. So with that, I would like to share with you guys our free newsletter. We share parenting tips and free resources every month if you're interested. You also have it on your handout. And if anybody has any questions, I will open it up for questions. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with a parent who may need to hear it. See you guys on the next one.